you'll be getting married soon and you're wondering how you can actually have a beautiful wedding without having to spend so much money, or you even have the funds but you have much more things to do with the funds after getting married, and you're looking out for ways to cut a lot of things off your budget and just pretty much spend as little as you can on your wedding. I'm definitely here for you. I'm going to share tips on how to have a small budget wedding yet classy. Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Okoyemi Goddess, and on this channel I talk about love, relationships and marriage, nursing, lifestyle, and basically everything fun. If you're new to this channel, thank you for coming by. I love and celebrate you. Here is your hug and your kiss. And if you're one of my old subscribers, thank you guys for sticking to this channel. Thank you so much guys for your support. I love and appreciate you. But don't forget to subscribe if you're new here, and like my videos. Click on the notification bell, that way you would always know whenever I put up videos here. And don't forget to just share. Yes, share and share. So guys, today let's just get right into the video. Today I'll be talking about how to have a low budget wedding, or a small budget wedding, or a tight budget wedding. Anyhow, how to have a small wedding. Yeah, so first thing you need to do if you want to have a small budget wedding is to start planning early enough. I cannot overemphasize this. That is just the first thing you need to do. Start planning as early as possible. In my own situation, I got married in December of the year that I got married. That was 2018 anyways. So I started planning passively. We started planning in January passively, even though we knew we were going to be getting married later on in the year, but the active planning started in July. So we had our family introduction, which is another thing that we do in Nigeria, which is also like a ceremony on its own, like a mini version of your wedding. Really, it's just a place where, or a ceremony where both families like come together to know each other better. So that's why it's called a family introduction. So we had a family introduction in July or June. July. We had it in June. We had it middle of the year anyway. So that was when like the active planning started, but the passive planning started in January. But even for the active planning, we still had like 6 months to plan. Yeah, we had 6 months to plan our wedding. So guys, if you start early enough, you would have enough time to plan. Just ensure that you plan for about six months to 1 year. You would really be fine. So that's that. And in my own situation, I actually didn't hire a wedding planner. So there was nobody like a paid individual who planned my wedding on my behalf. No, myself and my husband basically planned everything by ourselves, and it was very, very like it went smoothly. The planning went smoothly. By the way, my husband is like very detailed. He's a very detailed person, so that really helped us in planning. You know, he was able to bring in his own ideas. I brought out my own ideas as well, and we just matched all our ideas and all that, and that was just a perfect match. The planning was really, really smooth and splendid. So start planning as early as possible. You need to do is to pick a date as early as possible. So when you're picking a date for your wedding, please consider the time of the year, consider the season you'll be getting married in. So for instance, I got married in Nigeria, and basically in Nigeria we have like the rainy season and the dry season. So if for instance you getting married during rainy season and you're planning to have like an outdoor wedding, that might be a bit difficult, because now you would spend more money, because you now have to have like a backup canopy or a backup tent. There will always be a need for you to get like a backup plan, like a plan B in case rain starts to fall. You need somewhere where you would take your guests to. Of course, they can't be under the rain while your wedding ceremony is going on. So that is why you really need to consider the season that you'll be getting married, or the time of the year. Also, I know it is also not advisable to be getting married during the festivities of this. For instance, I got married in December, and then a lot of festivities was just going on in December, and I know typically it can be more expensive getting married in December because most vendors are usually like overbooked. So if you really want to get a slot for their services, they might really, really place more money or more price on their services. I kind of understand. So when you're planning a small budget wedding, it's advisable to not pick December. Just kind of pick a date that is not really like in demand. Do you get it? So that's really, really going to help. Another thing you should also do is to have a wedding planning guide. So for me, I knew I wasn't going to like have a physical wedding planner. like someone that was going to pay or hire to plan my wedding. So what I did was to go on Google, just type in wedding planning guide or wedding planner. It's always in a PDF um version or a PDF file. Just download the wedding planning guide. That was what I did, and it really helped me. It was one of the major things that helped me in planning my wedding. So that way I didn't miss out on anything. So the wedding planning guide usually would have like a list of everything you need for a wedding. But of course, the one I downloaded wasn't like really made for Nigerian weddings. It was more like for European weddings, but it still helped me because all I just had to do was just to like write out the other things that they didn't include in the guide. And so I already had like a full list of what was needed or required for my own type of wedding. So that would really help you. So I printed out 2 copies of that. One was for my traditional engagements, the other one was for my white wedding, and that really helped. So the stuff that were not like included primarily, I just had to put them on paper with my pen, and then you can type it in. Regardless, just ensure that you had the things that will not be included in the guide, because like I said earlier, the guide I printed out was the one for European weddings, I think. But there might be Nigerian wedding guide on Google. I just didn't search for it. So regardless of where you be getting married or whatever your culture is or your country's way of getting married, whatever it is, just go to Google and just download wedding planning guide. You would find different versions, and you can always pick the one that is suitable for you or for your own scenario. Really, that would help me. And so what I did when I downloaded the budget was that for every of the items on the list, I just put like a rough figure. So I already had an idea of what everything would cost. For instance, for makeup, I had an idea of how much I wanted to spend. So don't put a raw figure of what others have spent on that particular thing. Put a rough figure of what you think you can afford on that particular service or item. For instance, maybe for makeup, I think I just put like 20,000 naira, because I knew what I wanted to spend on each of all the services. So I put rough figures or rough estimate on each of those items, and then when I did that, I made a total. So that gave me like an idea of how much I'll be needing for my wedding, because you need to have a budget, and the only way you can have a budget is by having like ideas of how much you think each of those things will cost, or how much you can actually afford on each of those things. And then I just made a total, and then that gave me like an idea of what would be needed for my wedding, and then that way I knew the amount I was going to save for it, and then we could now share responsibilities between each family. So that's the second thing. That is the third thing rather. So the next thing you need to do to plan a small budget wedding is to delegate and share responsibilities early enough. You can probably notice that I keep saying early enough, because the moment you start doing all these things when your wedding is like very close, you start to rush. And when you start to rush, you would start to spend so much money. So if you'll be delegating tasks to people, let them know early enough. You don't want a situation where you delegate a task to someone like a month to your wedding, and then the person will find out that he or she won't be around during your wedding, and then you have to like maybe outsource and pay someone to do that task. So whatever you be doing, ensure that you do it early enough. Share responsibilities, delegate. Make sure you delegate. That delegation is very key, and it will save you from spending so much. For family and friends, I know in Nigeria we like to like share the financial burden of the wedding. So let people know how much they will be like contributing to your wedding early enough. It might not necessarily be how much, but you can say, for instance, maybe your sister will cater for makeup, or your brother will cater for photograph, whatever it is. Just like share it and let everybody know. Communicate it to people early enough, so everybody knows that this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to do. Let your parents know how much you want them to contribute to your wedding, if they can afford to. If they cannot afford to, that means that you'll be carrying all the financial burden, so that way you can save up early enough. That would really help. So the other thing you need to do is to have a guest list, and before you would have a guest list, it is better for you to agree on the type of wedding you want early enough. This is another thing. So in my own situation, we really didn't agree on the kind of wedding we wanted early enough. My husband and I already knew the kind of wedding we wanted to have, like our own dream wedding. We wanted a very very small wedding. If there's anything like a micro wedding, we wanted something very intimate and something very small. So the initial plan my husband and myself had was that, okay, so we're going to like have a blessing in church, like this solemnization was going to be in church, and then there we'll just have maybe our parents from both sides, would have our siblings, close family and friends, just for the blessing, and then that will be all. So at the end of the blessing or the solemnization, will just give people like packs of food and their souvenirs, and that will be all. Everybody will go home, and then later in the evening we would have like an after party with just our friends. So that was the initial plan. But of course, by the time we told our parents, especially my parents, they were not just having it. They were like, "Wow, because I'm the first child, I'm the first girl, I'm the only girl in the house," and they were not just having it. They just couldn't understand why there would be no like proper reception, like the Nigerian reception. So they didn't oblige us. So then we now said, okay, what if we have like an outdoor wedding with maybe just 50, 60 guests? They felt, oh, why would they put their guests under the sun? Like they just didn't understand why we would want an outdoor wedding. So we had to scrap that, and then we said, okay, what if we have like a dinner? Because our goal was just like to have an intimate wedding, so we're looking for several options to just ensure that we have like a very small and intimate wedding. So we said, okay, what if the wedding is like in form of a dinner, like in the evening, and my parents were like, so their friends would dress up, wear the Nigerian outfits, like, and then tie the headgear, and then they will now come to an evening wedding. Like, how is that possible? So they really just didn't understand everything we were trying to communicate with them, and all the other options we put across. They were not just having it. So we just had to settle for the regular type of wedding where you would go to church in the morning for solemnization and the blessings, and then you would go on to have a reception after the church service. So that was what we settled for. But we still ensure that we didn't spend so much money. We ensure that we didn't go beyond our budget. So even though we obliged our parents, we ensured that they had their way, just to honor them, and then just to make them feel important and make them feel that, oh, the part of the whole planning. We didn't want them to feel like, oh, we're just planning all by ourselves. So even though we allowed them to have their way, as per budget, we still had our way. We still didn't go out of our budget. The same amount we would have spent on maybe an outdoor wedding or a dinner type of wedding was still the same amount we eventually spent on the regular type of wedding. Yeah, so that was what we eventually did. So just to ensure that you have a budget early enough, and share your responsibilities, and have a guest list, and agree on the type of wedding you want. So for the guest list, what we did was that, so we told my parents to let us have the number of people they want to have and the list of the names. Because the way Nigerian parents are, they can just tell you, okay, let's just say 100 people. The way Nigerian parents are, they'll say, okay, just 100 people. And eventually on that day, you find like 1 million people. So we didn't just tell them to tell us the figure, we asked for the names. So we wanted to know. So that way, like when they sent the names of the people and the number, so I was going through the names. I already knew the people. They were not like so important. Like they were like external people. Extended people. I already knew that they were not so important. I was just crossing out. Like, so eventually, I think my parents were able to like nail it down to like 75. Well, eventually, Nigerian parents, eventually over 200 people came from my parents' side, but we'll still get to that. But eventually my parents nailed it to 75 guests. My husband's family still did the same. So that was it. So we agreed on the guest list and the number of people we wanted. For my husband and I too, we drafted the number of people we wanted, our own friends. We wrote down their names, and then we were able to reach consensus. The next thing I started doing was to start buying things early enough. See, that was a game changer for me. I started buying stuff from as early as July, even though I was getting married in December. And from July to December, there was really no month that I didn't buy at least one item. There was no month that I didn't buy at least one item. There were months that I bought 2 items. There were months that I bought 3 items. There were months that I literally went to the market and bought quite a lot of things. But as money was rolling in, I was buying. I wasn't waiting for, when I had all the money and all that. So for everything that I knew I needed, I was buying everything. My husband didn't use that approach for the things he needed. He waited till I think like October before he started buying his own stuffs. But well, for my own stuffs, I started buying them as early as July. So every month I was buying. Whenever I had cash, I was buying. There were sometimes I would literally just be coming from work, and I would just branch out somewhere, buy a particular item. So it was really like that. So my own planning wasn't like so vigorous because I was taking it, a step at a time, a step at a time. So it was really easy for me. My planning was really, really smooth and splendid. I didn't have to really stress over buying things because I was just doing it gradually. Another thing you have to do when buying gradually is also to look out for sales, and that's one of the importance of planning your wedding ahead of time, having enough time to plan your wedding, because you can always look out for sales and bargains. I did that a lot. There were a lot of things I bought when those things were like on sales, and I got a lot of bargains because I was not in a rush. The moment you're in a rush, you really won't care about the amount because you need that thing urgently. But for me, I wasn't in a hurry. I had the time to even explore several vendors. For instance, when I wanted to buy my wedding shoes, I would go from one shop to another because I was not in a hurry. There were times I would even, go for window shopping. I wasn't ready to buy the shoes, but I would just go for window shopping just to see. And then I'll go back home. I had all the time. So that is what I feel would be needed if you want a small budget wedding. Just ensure that you're looking out for sales, for bargains, and all that. So that would really help you. You also need to cut down on unnecessary things. So for an average bride or an average groom, especially brides, I know there's that one thing that you rather spend your money on and let every other thing suffer. But not necessarily that you want other things to suffer, but there's always that one thing that you would want to spend more money on. So for a bride, it might be your own makeup. I know some brides that they rather spend a lot of money on makeup and then they won't spend so much money on maybe photography or maybe their dress and all that. For some, it's actually their dress, and they can afford to not spend so much money on other things. Find out that thing that you really want. Every bride will always want that one thing that they want to spend money on at the detriment of others, which is absolutely fantastic. I really didn't have that one thing because I was really on a budget and I just didn't care. I was much more concerned about my marriage anyways. I wasn't really bothered about the wedding. It was much more about the marriage, and so I really didn't have that one thing that I'd rather spend much more money on. Well, maybe my dress, but I know this is something that most brides have. They have that one thing that they really want to spend money on. So if you have that one thing, make sure you spend money on that one thing, and then other things you can spend less money on other things. That is absolutely worth it. Yes, it's absolutely worth it. Another thing you should consider is understand the rules and regulations of the church where you be getting married, or the authority that will be joining both of you. So, or the authority that will be conducting your wedding. Let me just put it that way. So for instance, in my own situation, I got married in the Redeemed Christian Church of God, and they obviously have their own rules and regulations, and they had it too when we were getting married. And even though that was a church where I grew up in, and I kind of had an idea of how they do their things, especially when it comes to weddings and all that. I had an idea, but I really didn't fully understand until we started premarital classes, pre-wedding classes, and then I had a full picture of what was expected of us, what we needed to do, how we should appear on our wedding day and all that. Like for my husband, he had to scrape his beard. For me, there was a certain type of way I had to look. My wedding dress had to look a certain type of way. Like I wasn't allowed to wear sleeveless. I wasn't allowed to show my cleavage. Of course, I ordinarily wouldn't even show my cleavage. Like let alone on my wedding day, I wouldn't even show my cleavage, and so that was not even like a big deal for me. I didn't mind, but it's good you know ahead of time what will be required of you. I know different churches and different denominations have their own terms, so that way you can save money, because you might buy your dress without knowing their rules and regulations, without knowing their terms and conditions. You might have ordered for your dress, bought your dress, or made your dress, and then you'll be told, oh, you can't wear this type of dress, you can't wear this kind of dress, this type of dress is not allowed. And then you might think, okay, maybe you would adjust. I've seen a lot of brides that will end up adjusting their dress, and then they'll just make a mess of the dress. By the time you keep adjusting, making adjustments to your dress, eventually it ends up looking crappy and all that. So the best thing is just to know the protocols of the authority where you'll be having your wedding, that will be conducting your wedding, know the rules and regulations, and abide by those rules. So that when you're ordering for your dress or whatever it is, even if it is a program of events, like my church, the church where I got married, they had their own way of doing the program of events. So imagine if we had done that earlier without consulting them, we would have wasted money, and then we'll have to reprint the program of events. So ensure that you get a lot of information as to what they want, how they want it, so that way you just don't keep on wasting money. Now I will be moving to the services that will be needed for wedding, and now we can actually cut costs on all those services. But before I go on to that, I just want to emphasize that for all the services, say you'll be able to cut a lot of costs if you use your friends and families for these services. So you have a friend that is a photographer, you have a family member, a cousin, that is a makeup artist, or you have a friend that is a caterer, or you have a friend that is a decorator. Just maximize the people around you. Make use of a friend's talent, their gift. You might even have a friend that has that gift but doesn't like make use of that gift for business. So you have a friend that knows how to decorate, but they don't necessarily like do it for business sake. You can actually use them, use their talents, use their gifts, and you can actually have friends that actually do that full time as business. Use them, use their services. They will give you very huge discount, and because that will be like their own contribution to your wedding, so they're not going to like charge you like they would charge their proper customers or their proper clients. They will give you very huge discount. Some might even do it for you for free, but of course you shouldn't now be asking them for free because you know they are your friends or family members. No, you should still support their business, and you should still pay them a certain amount. Let them be the ones to say, oh, I'll give you this discount or that discount. Let them be the ones to say, oh no, I'll give you for free, I'll do that for free. You shouldn't be the one asking them to do it for free, except like you're like very very close. But for me, like for instance, my makeup artist, the person that did my that did my makeup for the traditional engagement was my cousin. The bill she gave me was ridiculously cheap. I paid her just 20,000 naira. My proper wedding makeup was even done by my bestie, who was my best lady or chief bridesmaid, as they say, and she didn't even collect a dime for me because she's my girl, I'm a girl, and so just basically use everybody around you. So now let me just get to the services. So first of all, for photography, in my own situation, we used my husband's family photographer. So though he charged us, but what we paid was very very cheap. Because, and this is because he's a family friend, he's been their family photographer. So that is why it is essential to make use of people around you, people in your network, people that you already know, your friends and family members. So you can do the same if you have any friend that is into photography. Or if another thing you could do is if you have an upcoming photographer. I know for upcoming vendors, because they want to get a lot of clients in order to perfect their own skills as well, so they might not really mind you know giving you very huge discounts. Like their own services might not be really expensive, so you can really look out for upcoming vendors. So that's that about photography. For our invitation cards, you can actually, in our own situation, my husband did the design at first. So he did the initial design. I think he did about 3 trials, but of course I really didn't like the design, and we eventually had to like outsource it. But invitation cards these days, you don't even have to outsource anything. You can actually DIY your invitation cards. You don't have to outsource anything, and there are several apps these days where you can actually create your own cards. Canva, you have Canva app. Go on Canva, design your card. Go on PicMonkey, design your card. And basically these days, people even prefer the digital copy, like the soft copies. People don't really even want the hard copies anyway. So in our own situation, it was like that as well. So we just printed about, I think we printed 100 copies. So we outsourced it, but it was so cheap. I think it was about 10,000 naira. Yeah, 10,000 naira was what we spent on invitation cards, because we're not ready to spend. So it wasn't like a luxurious card, it was just a simple card. We didn't even put it in an envelope. Like it was just a basic card that had a ribbon over it. It was just looking so simple. There was nothing so serious or spectacular about it, because people end up throwing your invitation cards away anyways. So why do you want to stress yourself and then spend money on a card that people would actually throw away? So that was what we did about invitation cards. But don't forget, you can always DIY your invitation cards. Go on Canva. There's several apps where you can do that. You can get the paper yourself and just print it on the paper. Get the envelopes, put it in the envelope. They're basically everything you can do all by yourself if you have the time. That way you cut a lot of cost. The next thing is makeup. I already mentioned makeup earlier, that it was my cousin and then my bestie that did my makeup for both days, and I didn't even pay my bestie any amount for the makeup, and it was all over my face. The way he would treat a regular client was the way she treated me, even though she was being naughty anyways. But serious, shout out to Adiola Peperempe. I would probably put her Instagram page up here, so if you have like an event, if you live in Lagos, anyway, she can travel to any part of the world. For my hair, I didn't pay my stylist. Titi, she happens to be my childhood friend as well, one of my very very good friends. So on my wedding day, I had my besties around me, and they were all there. The only thing I had to do for my hair was to buy the hair itself, like the extension I was going to use, and then I bought a few hair products. But styling itself, the The installation was for free, the styling was for free, and having your friends around you as well, being your vendors, but they're also there on your big day is a big deal. So really patronize of I can't overemphasize the fact that you should just make use of the people around you, your family, friends, your loved ones. Just make use of these people. It will go a long way in helping you to cut a lot of cost. Also, about the fabric that I used for my wedding, I got the fabric from Lagos Market in Dumota, and it was just for 15,000 naira. I made sure I didn't spend so much money on the fabric itself, because there's really no point spending so much money on the fabric and then you would give it to a very crappy tailor, a very crappy designer, and the beauty of the fabric won't even come out. So I made sure that I didn't spend so much money on getting the fabric itself. It was just 50,000 naira for 5 yards, but I spent about, I think, another 15,000 naira to make the outfit. Oh no, 10,000 naira to make the outfit, and it came out nice. It came out beautiful. That's that. For my shoes, I actually got pre-owned shoes. Seriously, guys, you don't need to spend so much money. They were very beautiful shoes. So if you can afford a brand new shoe, get pre-owned shoes. Buy shoes when they are on sales. Get bargains. And back in Nigeria, we call some shoes fairly used, what people now call pre-owned. That was what I did. For my shoes, I got them for both days, traditional engagement and the main wedding. Each of those shoes were just for 5,000 naira each. I got them for 5,000 naira each, and you wouldn't believe it. The shoes were looking so amazing. They were looking like brand new shoes, but they were fairly used shoes. Really, it depends on how small you want your wedding to be. If you really want a small budget wedding, you can have it. It is not impossible. It is achievable. I did it, and it was good. Nobody knew the amount I spent on my wedding shoes, because they looked so gorgeous. So that's all about the shoes. Also about the dress, you can go for pre-owned dresses. You really don't need to buy a bespoke dress. In my own situation, I actually did a custom made dress, and the reason why I went for custom dress is because of the requirements of the church where I'll be getting married. I told you earlier that they had a lot of requirements, they had a lot of rules and regulations, and I wanted to abide by all their rules. I didn't want to break any of the rules, so I just went for a custom dress. So I got the designer who made the kind of dress I wanted to fit into what they would allow. Even though the dress was gorgeous, it was beautiful, but I still made sure that I honored their rules and honored their doctrines, because they didn't force me to come and get married in their church. Do you get it? So I had to understand that this is their doctrine and all that. So that was why I went for a custom made dress. Well, there are even like already made dresses that are like very cheap. I remember when I was doing window shopping for my dress, when I went to Lagos Market in Dumota, I found beautiful dresses for like 20,000 naira, 30,000 naira, 40,000 naira, and they were so beautiful. But because either they were showing my cleavage or they were sleeveless, they had one issue or the other, and I really didn't want to like make adjustment or amend. But if you are ready to like make adjustments, you can still buy those cheap and affordable dresses. They're usually like very, very beautiful. Even the custom dress I made, that my designer made, was also very affordable. I spent just 60,000 naira on my dress. It wasn't like overly expensive. It wasn't a bespoke wedding dress. It was just 60,000 naira, but it was beautiful to the core. I looked so gorgeous in it. So guys, you can do pre-owned dresses. You can even rent a dress. You don't have to buy a brand new dress, because the truth is most times after your wedding you don't end up wearing your dress, so usually it's still like waste of money. So guys, you can rent a dress, do pre-owned dresses. Another thing you could do is reach out to your friends that probably got married recently, or maybe just a few months before you, and if they have any item that you would want to use, that you think you can use, even if it's a wedding dress, you can always wear your friend's wedding dress. That way you won't even spend a dime on it. You understand? The other thing I would like to touch on is the items that you already have at home. There's nothing bad in reusing the items you already have at home. So for my traditional engagement, I needed a gold purse, but because I already used the gold purse for my family introduction earlier in July of that year, so I just felt there was no point buying another gold purse. Really, who? I just told myself, who are you trying to impress? You're trying to impress no one. Nobody would even know that you used it for your family introduction earlier in the year. So that was what I did. It was the same gold purse that I used for my family introduction that I eventually used for my, wedding engagement, and it was beautiful. Nobody knew I'd used it in the past. So if you have any item in your wardrobe that you've used before and then it will fit into what you actually want for your wedding or your engagement, please just use it. Don't break the bank because you want to get married. Stop trying to impress people. Your marriage is much more important than the wedding itself. All in all, what I would just like to emphasize is make use of your friends and families businesses, use their talents, their gifts. That way you will save a lot of money, because they will see it as their own contribution to your towards your wedding, so they won't charge you so much. They will give you a very huge discount. So guys, and then don't forget to start planning early. That is really, really like the utmost thing you need to do. Start planning as early as possible. That way you're not in a rush. That way you have several options to to pick from, because you have enough time at your hands. You can go window shopping and not buy anything and go back home. Change your mind at any time. You can pick your colors. You can change colors as many times as you want, because you have enough time to to plan and to make up your mind. So guys, I hope I really helped you with the few tips that really helped you to plan a small budget wedding. If you have any questions, please endeavor to drop them in the comment section. I would answer all other questions that I probably wasn't able to talk about in this video, because the video is apparently getting too long. So thank you so much guys, and for people that will be getting married very soon, congratulations in advance. Your union is blessed in the name of Jesus. Your union will be fruitful, you would multiply, you would have dominion, you will subdue in the name of Jesus. Thank you guys for watching my video. I really love you, I appreciate you. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Please do. I need you guys to subscribe. Please like my videos, always comment on my videos. I really want you guys to engage in my videos. Thank you so much guys, and don't forget to share. Click on the notification bell, that way you'll be the first person to know whenever I put up videos on my channel as well. And if you've not seen any of my videos in the past, you'll see them right here. Thank you guys, and see you another time.